Hey folks, we're going to go over a little bit of plant propagation now. So this is going to apply to woody perennials and woody herbaceous material. In this case today I'm going to do some red mulberry and some wild blueberry. The idea here is that we take new growth, some people also call this greenwood cuttings, new wood cuttings, and we're going to prepare them in a potting mix where they will have the opportunity to create roots. This applies to most woody shrubs and herbs. So the herbs I'm thinking of would be maybe sage and rosemary, most perennial herbs that get woody hard growth. I'm not talking about things that we start from seed like parsley and dill and things of that nature. This does not apply to fruit trees. This method won't work. I should say you may get roots, but you may not get the tree that you're expecting to get. So that's why with fruit trees we do grafting. That's kind of a whole other specialty. But this will work for things like willows, mulberry, which is technically a shrub, but it grows big into a tree around here. It will work for various types of elm. So it's a pretty versatile way of making a lot of plants from just a little bit of material, and you can really expand your kind of personal homestead level production in this manner. Before I go too far, I did want to give credit to who taught me this most recently. Kind of took my skill set and my knowledge to a new level a couple weeks ago. I attended a plant propagation class exclusive to native plants of the Tennessee region through Overhill Gardens. Overhill Gardens is a native plant, an exclusive native plant nursery in Von Orr, Tennessee. Kind of down in that's sort of the southeastern portion of Tennessee, where John Mannion and his team provided us with plant material, a book, and all kinds of just a wonderful 6-7 hour long class. So I'm taking what they taught us. I'm going to try to kind of distill it down into about 10 or 11 minutes here and just show you guys the real bare bones basics of doing this. And it's one of those things, as you do it more, as you make your observations, you'll get better, you'll have more success, and it's just kind of a really encouraging thing to do. So the timing is important. So we're in early June. If the plant that you want to take a cutting from has put out new growth, but hasn't gotten too far into its flowering stage or its fruiting stage, you can go ahead and take those new growth cuttings and attempt to propagate them. Once a plant is fully into the mode of trying to create fruit, it's hard for it to redirect the energy back into creating roots. That's not to say that it can't. If you provide really good conditions for it, it could still work. But for those of us in the southeast, softwood cuttings, working on rooting them, is kind of like a game that we can play from about, I would say, early April to about now. So I'm kind of bumping up on running out of time to do this effectively. Hardwood cuttings, kind of a different game, and I can do that in a separate video sometime. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch this camera around and kind of show you guys the steps to getting this done. All right, so I've got here just a regular garden soil all-purpose planting mix, and this can be done with a lot of different medium. It can be done with some people even do it in sand. You can do it in compost. It's not really a big deal what you use as your medium. The biggest factor, as far as I've been able to observe, is maintaining even moisture. So I went ahead and watered this before I did anything else with it to kind of go ahead and expand out the material and kind of address any hydrophobic tendencies. And then once these cuttings are placed, I'm going to put them in a pan of water, maybe about 1/2 inch deep, and they will be bottom watered. So this soil mix will wick the water up, and it seems to result in a lot more success in terms of keeping even moisture and that cutting not getting too dry. That's pretty much what does cuttings in, is just either too big a change in moisture level or just getting too dry for too long. So the first one I'm going to work with here, this is off of some wild blueberry, and we want to work with a cutting that's maybe about 8 to 10 inches long. I'm gonna cut this one down just a little bit, mostly for the sake of space, the shelf it's going to go on. We want to start with, we're going to find a node where a leaf forms, because this node can also make roots. We're going to cut that off at about a 45-degree angle. Next, we're going to strip all the leaves except for about 2 at the top. So I'm going to keep these at the top, but I actually want to reduce them down a little bit more. So we're going to snip those in half. The reasoning for this is that the plant needs to redirect its energy into creating roots, not into trying to leaf out further. And the last thing I want to do here is strip a little bit of this outer layer off. This makes it a little easier for roots to form and to emerge. This is important. This is one of the things that this step right here was worth the price of the class, because I hadn't been doing that, and I think I would have had more success if I had known about that. I feel like this one's actually still pretty long, so I'm going to cut it down a little bit more. I'm going to take out 2 more nodes and strip again. And I feel like it's going to sit much better in these 4-inch cups that I'm putting them in. All right, next we're going to get our rooting hormone. A little cup of this goes a long, long way. I've been using this same little canister for about 4 or 5 years now. And it's good to wet this tip if possible and just kind of dip it in the hormone. Knock off any extra, and you just kind of want a little bit on the end there. Next step is also important, and one that I have inadvertently forgotten to do more than once. Go ahead and use your finger or a pencil or a stick or something and make an indent all the way down through that cup, or else you're going to knock off your hormone when you place it in there. Park it, tamp it in. I actually think I want a little bit more soil in here. Just kind of hold things nice and secure. And it's going to go over here in a bus tub, which I'm going to put water in. And when I go to water these, I just pour water into the bus tub, and this moisture mix will just wick it right up. I'm going to do the same thing with some red mulberry that I've got. This is some red mulberry. I'm going to strip off these leaves, and those leaves are actually going to go to the rabbits. They love them. I'm going to cut this one pretty far down as well. I got these kind of long to start with. Knock off a few more leaves. Snip the rest of these in half. If you are trying to root something that has started a little bit of flowering or is budding, just take that off too. Strip that. Dip in hormone. Prep that cup. In we go. Tamp in real good. Top off a little bit. Now, with those parked in the cups, I don't necessarily want to put these anywhere where they're going to bake in full sun. So I've got a spot right now which is on the east side of my workshop, which after about 11:30 or noon this time of year spends the rest of the day in the shade. And that is where I'm going to keep these guys. They're also right next to where the rabbits are, so I see them every day, and I can top off the water in the pan as needed. You will know most of the time, if you are having rooting success, if the cutting stays green and you start to see a little bit of new leaf growth. They don't always grow new leaves, and this can be a many weeks long process. This is not something that's going to happen in a week. It's not like waiting on a seed to germinate. It takes longer than that. I've got some Nanking cherry that I put in as hardwood cuttings in some propagation beds last October, dug them out today, and they have rooted. Now, they've probably been rooted for a while, and they were well rooted. The roots were several inches long, but this is kind of a slow game. So you do want to be able to control the amount of moisture. You don't want them to bake in the sun. You don't want them too tall where the wind is going to knock them over, and you just kind of need to be able to keep an eye on them. But this is a great way to make more plants. If you're able to do this, you don't necessarily need to keep buying. Now, I know we always buy new stuff, which is fine, of course. But if you have something like my blueberries that do really, really well, it serves me to propagate them instead of just going out and paying quite the price tag for large, 3-gallon potted berry bushes. So I hope you guys find that useful. Be mindful of things like it really, the moisture is the thing. That really just seems to be the main issue. That's kind of what I've observed. So holler at me in the comments or at strongrootsresources@gmail.com if I can assist you further, and we'll talk to you guys next time.